fire department. And also in the event of an emergency and need of an AED, we have one located at the second level and the first level at the elevators. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winters. It is time for the commissioners to sign in officially, so let's do our roll call.
Here we go. Madam Chair, I'm missing my phone this evening. I apologize.
So you will be voice voting on that, sir. Thank you.
Madam Chair. Are you doing the same?
Doing the same.
Okay.
Yes, you just clear.
We've got Campbell, Jay Profit, and Aaron Frazier voice voting tonight. Anybody else? We're ready to move on? Okay. All right, so let's there's 22 present. Thank you for that. In looking over the agenda, I would request one change if the commission will approve it. I would like to request that item number 13 be moved up and considered to be item 9. And then that will move everything else down one slot. So the acceptance of the minutes will be item 10, approval of letters and bonds will be item 11, and so on. Reason being that Mr. Lawrence might have somewhere else he'd rather be tonight, so we'll try to let him do what he needs to do and let him leave, if that's okay with the commission. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve as amended.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Frazier.
Just a second, can you?
She may go with the ones that came up on the screen, so that will be Kelly Collins for the motion and Todd Smith for the second. Is there any discussion? Okay, please vote on approval of the agenda for this evening.
Yes. Aye.
Okay, the agenda stands approved. At this time, if everyone in the room will please rise, we'll have opening prayer led by Commissioner Willie Campbell, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Aaron Frazier.
Dear and gracious Father God, Lord, to bow our heads this evening, Lord, thank you for this day. We're thanking you, Lord, that you let us put our feet to the floor and take another breath, all because of your grace. Lord, we do thank you tonight, Lord, for your son who went to an old rugged cross and died for each and every one of us, God. Lord, tonight we can never praise you enough for what you've done for each one of us, God. You kept your hands upon us and watched over us. Lord, we thank you for your love, mercy, and grace. God, tonight we do pray, Lord, for this commission board. We pray for each one that sits on it, God, that we'll use our wisdom and knowledge that only comes from you. Lord, tonight we do pray for each office holder, Lord, each worker inside each department. God, we pray, Lord, that you keep your hands upon each one of them, Lord, and watch over, have your anointing upon each one of us, God. Lord, tonight we ask these things in thy name. Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Legal.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's recognize all of our elected and appointed officials this evening. If you will please stand if you are serving in those roles, elected and appointed officials. Thank you all very much for your service. At this time, I'd like to call forward the chairman of the Law Enforcement Committee, Commissioner Lisa Childress.
Good evening. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the commission, and welcome to everyone that's here tonight. Thank you for coming. Tennessee Corrections Institute oversees locally operated adult detention facilities across the state of Tennessee. They are not part of the Tennessee Department of Correction. Last month, the Tennessee Corrections Institute hosted a conference in Gatlinburg, and 2 employees of the Carter County Sheriff's Department were awarded top honors. At this time, I would like to ask Captain Matt Patterson and Sergeant Steve Tipton to join me at the podium, please. Thank you. Captain Patterson was named Tennessee Corrections Institute Jail Administrator of the Year for 2023. Captain Patterson began his career with the Carter County Sheriff's Department in February of 2012 as a correctional officer. During his tenure, he has held several leadership positions and ranks, including corporal, sergeant, and lieutenant, before being named a jail administrator. And on September 1st, 2022, he was promoted to the rank of captain. Sergeant Steve Tipton was named Tennessee Corrections Institute Correctional Officer of the Year for 2023. Sergeant Tipton began his career with the Carter County Sheriff's Department in September of 2013 as a corrections officer. During his tenure, he has held various leadership roles, promoted first to the rank of corporal and then sergeant. The awards that these officers received were awards that were statewide. So it wasn't just locally to Upper East Tennessee, it was statewide awards. And as you can see, that is a wonderful photo of them holding their award there with Sheriff Fraley. Captain Patterson and Sergeant Tipton, on behalf of the Law Enforcement Committee and the Carter County Commission, we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to both of you for your hard work, continued dedication to the Carter County Sheriff's Department, and to the citizens of Carter County. Congratulations.
We'd like to say thank you to the commission. We've come a long way in a year, so we're moving forward. Thank you to Sheriff Fraley for everything that he's done, Law Enforcement Committee. Thank you guys. We couldn't have done it without you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
That is excellent, gentlemen. We are so proud. Okay, now, our new item number 9 is a county website update presented by Anthony Lawrence.
Okay, so this is the new website. The last picture in the website is just a fill-in picture. I think that was the first thing that the mayor wanted changed. It's who knows where that's at. But they just put it in as a filler, but that would be the little scroll animation that goes across the screen. In the upper right-hand corner is the social media. The little F is Facebook. The X, of course, is Twitter, and Instagram and YouTube. There's a little share button on the right. If you click that, you can share it instantly to anybody that, if you know somebody, you want to share it, click that. You can share it to Facebook, to Reddit, or to Twitter. There is the main page that you hit that is the navigation for it for all of our different departments, planning, zoning, monthly minutes, elected officials are on the right. So it's a warm, easy color to look at. Services. And this is our first rough draft. So we'll be making, the mayor has already made several comments on things that she wants to change. So we'll get those changed. And right before we go live, we'll present it one last time just to make sure everybody's happy with everything. It'll be fully working at that time. Because I don't even know what that is. It's something they put in. It's called a transparency portal. And so I think they just worded it the way they wanted to, not the way we would want it worded. But that's where you would find all your videos, public notices, minutes. The community links to other tourism, state of Tennessee, school system, Chamber of Commerce, all pretty typical stuff. How do I, employment, contact, get copies of public notices. Sorry, I can't scroll with my index finger because I ripped my fingernail off the other day.
What are you going for?
Yeah. So as you scroll down, now you got to remember, we're watching this on an iPad. So obviously on your computer screen at home, it'll be much bigger when they fill out. But you have your agendas, minutes, public notices, and you can scroll through them. Contact us. And then the rest of them are demo, which is we haven't filled them in yet. We'll be filling those in. And then there's a picture gallery. So like if somebody wants to submit a picture to the mayor's office, and then she'll submit it to us, or her secretary will put it in the website. So if there's a good picture somebody's taken over the weekend, they really like it, they can submit it. We'll get it up there. And that's pretty much it. That's the color scheme. It's got the logo and everything down at the bottom. Now, the biggest thing about this, if you all remember, is if you tried this on an iPhone or a cell phone, it didn't work. And so our current website does not work on an iPhone. It only works on iPads and computers. So this is it on a website or on a mobile device. It automatically shrinks to the fit of the iPhone or Android device. And the biggest thing was the navigation system. So in the upper right-hand corner, if you hit the navigation, this is what doesn't, the website works on an iPhone. It's the navigation system that doesn't work. So now when you hit the navigation button on the upper right-hand corner, you get, if you click government from that, then it displays all the links that need to be in there. And they still have some of the old information. So that's what it looks like on a mobile device now. It's also ADA compliant. If you're ADA and you're using that, it'll automatically detect that when you open up the site. But it makes it to where you can actually read this stuff on a mobile device. You can click the office number, office phone directly from your phone, click it, it'll dial the number. So if you're looking for a number to a specific department inside the county, you click on any of those links, they'll all be the email link where it says patty.woodby. If you click it, it'll open up your email program on your mobile device. If you click any of the numbers, it'll automatically call it. And if you notice, the social media icon stays at the bottom right-hand corner the entire time if you want to share it. So if you wanted to share Patty's information to somebody on Facebook, you could do that immediately. So anybody have any questions? Okay. That's pretty much it.
Looks nice. Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. All right, so now we're on item 10, the new item 10, acceptance of the meeting minutes from August and September. We're in your packet. So let's start with August. The floor is open for a motion to approve the August minutes. There we go. We have a motion by Angie and seconded by Jerry Prophet. Any discussion on the August minutes? Corrections? Okay, please vote on approval of the August minutes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Aaron Franklin,
Okay, those are approved. Let's move to the September minutes. Motion by Danny Field to approve, seconded by Todd Smith. Is there any discussion needed for the September minutes? Okay, let's vote on September.
Yes.
Aaron Franklin,
Okay, those are approved also. Thank you, commissioners. The clerk's office will now read to us those seeking approval for notaries and bonds.
Ashley Marshall, Dwayne Porter, Emily Palmer, Paige Johnson, Shelby Frazier, Susanna E. Worley, Amy G. Oxendine, Michael Kenneth Freeman, Nikki Campbell, Caitlin A. Atchley, Amber B. Thompson, Sarah J. Turbyfield, Tamara Modern, Joshua A. Harden, Sequa Sue Shields.
Motion to approve those by Commissioner Nancy Brown, seconded by Layla Ward. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote to approve those.
Billy Campbell,
Yes.
Aaron Frazier,
Okay, they stand approved. Now as we head into our public comment time, I just want to do something a little differently than I've done in the past, because we did have so many people speak on 2 issues last month. I just want to see all the people who plan to speak tonight to please stand. Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you all very much. You may
Come
be
on up,
seated.
Charlie.
And I guess first is going to be Charlie Montana.
Turn it on. I'm Charles Von Cannon, 198 Von Cannon Drive, Central Community. I want to say a few words tonight about the hospital situation. In the late 1950s, Carter County did not have a large hospital. They had the St. Louis or St. Elizabeth Hospital. They had Franklin Clinic, which was run by a doctor, 2 or 3 of the local doctors. There's a need apparently, according to the county officials and the city officials, for a new hospital. Federal money was available in the Hill-Burton Act, so the new hospital funding was funded by the federal government with some matching fees from the local people. The powers that be decided on a piece of land that was donated by Bimberg and North American on G Street. The initial hospital was parallel to the street. They added later a T, they made it a T, and a very nice hospital. The burden of financing it and maintaining it, though, became exorbitant. The county and the city looked for ways to get out of the obligation. A newly formed hospital group in Nashville named Hospital Corporation of America bought the rights to operate the hospital, but they didn't operate it very long or at all. They decided to build a new hospital, which is the present site, again with land donated by the plants. And then the old hospital was put up for sale. And that's where I knew what happened on it, because I was the guy that they asked to sell the hospital. I put out 39 packets, got back 8 or 9 good bids. Most of them are around $1.2 million. Plus, all of them except one wanted to convert it to a nursing home. One wanted to convert it to an assisted living operation. I turned my packets over to the committee of both county and city people. They in turn weeded them out to 4. And I never remember that. I was called in to give my opinion about the 4. And I recommended a company out of Salt Lake City. And when I told the county mayor, and everybody's dead now except me, it was involved. So I stand truthful. The county mayor, or the city mayor at the time said, Mormon. So I knew that was a dead horse, although it was by far the best because it was assisted living. But that's another story. The HCA did build the hospital, and HCA overexpanded out of Nashville. They really bought all over the place, bought and built. Overexpanded, it wasn't long till they got in trouble. Had it not been for the Johnson City Medical Center today, we would not have a hospital. They picked up where nobody else was able to operate. They did pick it up, and they picked several up in Virginia lately and other places. The hospital business has changed, as you nurses know. Used to, when you had a baby, you were 3 days in the hospital at least. Now, just as soon as the baby squalls one time, they send you home. But that's the way it is. The next thing was, in selling the hospital, it was in beautiful shape. The person they gave it to didn't come through the bid system, didn't come through me. It was a local political deal. 6 months later, they couldn't finance what they had offered, and they asked me to go back to the 4. I could hear one man from the West Coast screaming, where was I when the bids were opened? Because he had spent a lot of money with a consultant here studying the thing, and it would have been a good person. However, how did that turn out? They guarded it for 6 months. City, 6 months. or a month, the city police a month. They quit at about 6 months when they got no return bids. And that place within 2 months was in shambles. Commode tanks were twisted off and thrown out the window.
Mr. Montana,
Stop skateboard harassment was on the thing.
Mr. Montana,
This is pretty important.
your time has been up.
Give me two.
Give you two what?
Anyway,
I can't do it, Mr. Montana. I'm
Anyway.
the same for everybody.
bottom line, it cost.
Attention to the chair.
It cost $500,000 to demolish, plus the $1.2 million that they had lost
Mr.
because
Montana,
they didn't
I'm
take the
sorry.
bids. And the thing that I'm saying is that be careful, folks, be careful. Because you don't want to agitate the big boys. The thing that I'm saying is you don't pull on Superman's cape and you don't spit into the wind. So be careful. We might wind up with demolishment of the hospital. Thank you for your Madam Chairwoman.
Now turn you here.
Coming to short me in.
All right. To the rest of those of you who want to speak, we do have a 5-minute limit. We expect everyone to adhere to that. We want to treat everyone the same. So, whoever would like to come up here next, we would like for you to come to the podium. Please go slowly when you're stating your name and where you're from. We want to hear if you're a Carter County resident or not.
Listen, I'm not addressing that issue. I'm addressing something totally different tonight. My name is Beth Sims. Yes, I live at 152 Town Road in Kington, right off of Simmerly Creek in Tully. I've lived there for over 43 years. And I've come to the commission today to discuss the excess tractor trailer traffic we have now on our road. And I know some of you, and our road is part of the Tennessee Scenic Highway or Byway. And I know some of you probably heard about the one truck that turned over, I believe it was on October the 11th. Closed for 12 hours. Our first responders, who were volunteers, spent most of their all night cleaning up the load out of the creek. Therefore, had we had an emergency, we wouldn't have had our first responders. And I and my neighbors and my friends and my family have been run off the road more than one time by tractor trailers. That road is not built to accommodate tractor trailers, especially the number we have today. I see a lot of the Dollar General trucks, and probably I noticed those because they have Dollar General written all the way down the trailer, and they're huge. And if you've ever been on that road and you encounter one of these trucks, you know what I'm talking about, because you end up in the ditch or you end up stopping completely before somebody runs into you. I did contact the Department of Transportation in Knoxville. They have an engineer supposedly that will come out and do an assessment. They gave us their recommendations, and they asked me to please give them 6 weeks. And that was, I think, on October the 13th that I did that. So I don't know as a commission what you can do for us, but if you can speak for us or if you can be there behind us. You know, we now have Mary Patton and Gap Creek, which is a nice thoroughfare, especially for these big tractor trailers. We have school buses on our road. We have bicycle races on that road. And like I said, even myself and my friends and family can tell you a horror story of having to hit the ditch, so to speak. One day I observed a tractor trailer going down Simmerly Creek. I had come out at Fairview, and it's about 3.5 miles down to 19E, and I was down the road a little ways. And so I was right behind this tractor trailer. And as I was watching him, I actually took a picture because when he was making corners, his tractor was completely in the left-hand lane. And in less than 3 miles, I saw 3 oncoming vehicles have to literally get off the road. And I know people drive trailers, tractor trailers for a living, and I know people live on Simmerly Creek that do that, and I understand that. But for our road now to become such a thoroughfare, and I feel like it has been, GPS is sending trucks. We have a sign at Fiddler's Branch and at Fairview off of Simmerly Creek stating this is not a GPS route, no trucks. And I don't think the state can say that about Simmerly Creek, but I would just like to express our concern. And if we can get your support in any way, I would appreciate it. I know it's not a county road, it is a state road. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Sims.
Speaker, so. But thank you very much. And I don't know, do you have questions for me or?
It's just a time for you to comment. We don't get to,
That's all
we don't
I
get to
wanted
talk
to
about
know.
it.
Thank you very much. I'm just trying to do the protocol. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, but I mean, she's talking silly. Here we go.
Hi again, everybody. Danielle Goodrich, and I am actually in not Carver County, I'm Washington County. However, much like the Tweetsie Trail, what you're considering doing tonight would have regional implications, and I really hope that you go through with it. First, I wanted to thank everyone on the Hugh Committee who ensured that the resolution will be heard tonight. I'm hopeful that we can thank everyone similarly after this meeting. History shows that taking control of healthcare control of people is one of the first historical steps to communism. And that might seem like a stretch for where we find ourselves, but look at the controls in COVID and look at what Commissioner Holder stated in the last Hugh meeting. He said, quote, "They were almost ready to take an ambulance from this county because of that one meeting. It made them mad. Luckily they changed, and that's just one meeting." End quote. Are we talking about healthcare here? Are we talking about communists or the mafia? Now you have certain persons claiming we can't do anything about it because they are a private business. That's incorrect. When the legislature changed the laws to allow the merger, they created a state-regulated monopoly. They took choice and free market regulation from the people and gave it to the state. Other states have repealed their conflict. Tennessee is slow stepping it. This resolution could expedite this process. Other states have done it, showing it can be done. In 1999, Indiana repealed this conflict. In 2012, Ohio repealed most of its con laws. Many states recognize that applying con laws to rural hospitals hurts communities. That is why states exempt rural hospitals from the con laws. Con laws contribute to consolidated healthcare monopolies. This is a quote from a North Carolina Supreme Court arguing that con laws contribute to consolidated healthcare monopolies in North Carolina by distorting market power in favor of larger institutional hospitals. This illegal distortion of market power then results in higher prices, lower quality, and less availability of healthcare services. In turn, large institutional hospitals create incredible excess revenue while failing to earn their tax-exempt status through the provision of charity care. Veterans Hospital Review just came out ranking Ballard lowest out of 146 hospitals by nurse satisfaction, -2.7. The index is based on an analysis of 150,000 Glassdoor reviews. And I can send that report to you. It was ranked last. So is it nursing shortages, as Ballard likes to say, or is it, as nurse pharmacist suggested, a shortage of nurses willing to work there? I ask you to be brave and stay the course. Accepting less and less or running and hiding, I don't think those are good options for free citizens. And if we are to be free citizens, we must have choices, especially in healthcare. And despite what is being said, there are things they can do. So please continue with this in hopes it drives action where there wasn't enough pressure for the last legislative session. Perhaps now there will be a tendency to unwind by divesting its assets and operations and taking any other actions that would be appropriate under current market circumstances to restore, to the extent practicable, conditions to their pre-consolidation state in accordance within the plan of separation and its annually updated documents filed with the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
is Cindy Banton, and I live in Sullivan County. And I just wanted to relay to you a personal experience that I had with Johnson City Medical Center. I entered May 31st of this year with sepsis, and I was in shock and in and out of it. And I was taken to the emergency room, and it was pretty chaotic. They put me in a bed in front of the nurses station, and everybody was just kind of running back and forth, and they wanted to take my clothes off right then and there with a pair of scissors. But somebody came and stepped in and said, no, we're not going to do that. I fared pretty well in ICU. But as soon as I got out of ICU, the RN there in the room where they put me in just a regular room, she inserted an IV into my arm and then proceeded to pump the air out of the bag into my arm. And if it weren't for my nurse practitioner daughter who was with me, I probably wouldn't be standing here today. The nurse apologized and everything, but my daughter said that's just nursing 101. You don't do that kind of thing. She knew good and well what she was doing. And I think she was just trying to finish me off or something. But my fever remained, and there was no air conditioning in the room. The room's like 80, 85 degrees. They had this big old blower thing at one end of the hall, and another blower thing at the other end of the hall. But inside the rooms, there was no ventilation at all. And my family and I were pretty uncomfortable. We had to purchase a little fan just so we could keep some air flowing. I thought, wow, this is really shoddy. And most of the nurses and the caregivers that were in there were traveling nurses. This wasn't their real place that they were used to. And it just seemed like the right hand didn't really know what the left hand was doing. It was pretty chaotic. I stayed in there until June the 6th. I'm glad to get out of there. I just wanted to share.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Good evening, Commissioners, Madam Chairman. My name's Keith Moulton. I live at 130 Treadway Drive. It's in Carter County. I think I spoke once before. I've been in U-Chair. I think I said before, Madam Chairman. I've been, and I've also said, well, you guys are, I know what you're thinking, what you're going to be doing. I've been there. This isn't about rubbing elbows with anybody, to tell you the truth. It's citizens that have concern, and they're bringing it to you because you're their representatives. And they're asking you to look into it. And they aren't asking you to do anything, but just bring it to the attention, and maybe there can be just some discussion to come to a compromise, a result of some sort. So I'm here just to say, vote your conscience. Think, I'm on I am not, what's the word? You have an advantage over me, which I understand. You read the resolution. I have no idea what the resolution says. I just am asking that the resolution, it's just to make a statement that you, the citizens, who I'm assuming you have even talked to, run across people that you live in this area and heard things and know things, and to vote just to let people know that there's a concern that we want to have looked at and considered and have some resolution for the people of this county. You're representatives. So that's what I'm asking. We've been here and you guys have done it. We went to the committee meeting. There's one request. I don't know if you do this. Would you have a public reading of the resolution before you did it? So I would ask that if that's possible. When I was president, I let the public know what was going on before the vote was taken. So I appreciate that. I appreciate your vote. I appreciate all the time that you people sat and listened and the time you put in. Thank you very much.
While he comes, I'll just say that if you stay with us through the meeting, you will hear the resolution read.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is James Atkins. I live on Richard Hollow Road in Stony Creek. I'm a Carter County resident. Forgive me, I didn't stand up when you said who plans on speaking, because I really didn't, but something struck me. Things that have, and I remember hearing things after the last meeting and some things that have already been said today, that we might not want to have this resolution because we're scared of retaliation from ballot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not just American. I'm not just a Tennessean, but I'm a resident of Carter County. And the hospital that we're talking about, what's it named for? Sycamore Shoals. What happened to Sycamore Shoals? The over the mountain men mustered and went and told King George that we were going to live as free men. Were they scared of what King George might do to them if they lost? No. And if Ballard is threatening this county because we have a resolution against their state-sponsored monopoly, they're threatening the health and safety of our children.
Yes. Yep.
And if you're a snake, if you're a venomous snake in my yard and you're threatening my kids, I'm not going to tell them to just get away and leave you alone. I'm going to cut your head off. Those of you, we started tonight with prayer. For those of you who are of the Christian faith, there is a 600-year-old doctrine called the doctrine of the lesser magistrate. And it says those in authority, even if they are not the highest authority in the land, have a duty to intervene for those that they are there to protect against tyrants. And while Ballad may not be a government organization, to threaten our health and safety because they have a monopoly and they're not providing the services that they're supposed to give us, you have a duty as those lesser magistrates to intercede on the behalf of your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is James Byrd. I live in Carter County at 1002 Dry Creek Road. I'm here to support the resolution against ballot, speaking out against actions. And follow up on what the gentleman just said, perfect. If ballot offers or threatens to withdraw service, I believe that's a violation of the Hobbs Act, which would fall under interstate commerce and extortion. And I believe that can be researched and followed through on. So real quick, I don't want to use up too much of the time you have. I do respect your time. Ballot is required to file a 990 every year. And as part of that 990, which is their tax return for nonprofit, they have to say what their purpose is. In 2019, they say, our mission is to serve those by delivering the best possible care. Our vision is to build a legacy of superior health by listening to and caring for those we serve. 2019. 2021, this is their latest tax return. Briefly describe your mission. They say, honor those we serve by delivering the best possible care. Big change. They don't say anything about listening to us. That's not mentioned. Back in May, I believe Commissioner Frazier asked Mr. Taylor, who's the CEO of Sycamore Shoals, I think the quote was, about the annual cost saving the closure will provide ballot. Mr. Taylor said, I don't know. It's not about money. In that same week, Mr. Levine, speaking to Superman, said clinical quality and finances both point to the closure. Finances is money, right? Same week, Mr. Levine. Improving quality saves money. That's not a bad thing. Mr. Levine, quote, this is a news article. Then the question is, all right, Does it now make sense to spend more money on something that evidence shows isn't the best approach? You don't spend more money on something unless you. So obviously it is about money. Let's take a look how Ballot spends their money. So we know Ballot doesn't have any competition here, but in the last 3 years, they have spent $8.6 million, $8.6 million on advertising and promotion. Why would they advertise? They advertise their trauma network. It's not like when UMass picks us up, we're like, well, let me choose where I want to go. Let's go to UT. No, we don't get that option. So why are they spending $8.6 million in 3 years on advertising? Could be to control the media. I don't know. Let me give you a comparison. I worked for Methodist Hospital in Memphis for 10 years. A large hospital system. Competes against 2 other very large hospital systems there. Baptist and Tenet, which is a Catholic hospital. Ballot spent $8.6 million in advertising. Methodist, who competes against 2 large hospital systems, spent $130,000 in 3 years versus 8.6. That's what a hospital should do. They're talking about sending us all to the medical center. About a year ago, there was a lady raped across the street from the medical center. Luckily, a DA got involved because the victim was left to sit in a crowded waiting room while the suspect was still at large. She reported she was mistreated by the nursing staff. The district attorney luckily took this up and it got some attention. Otherwise, it wouldn't have. So when I was here last time, I talked about mismanagement. I think we've referenced some of that. One thing they did that I think is amazing, when the CEO of Wellmont retired just minutes before the merger went through, he was paid $80,000 a month for nearly 3 years. That money could have probably kept our ICU open. I'm going to skip forward here real quick. Just a little bit. My background, I'm a certified tissue bank for the Tissue Bank Specialist, the American Association of Tissue Bank, which is a board test. I was very interested to find out that Mr. Levine, the CEO of Ballot, is a director for a company called Oxygen. Now, let me explain this real quick. I know I'm going to run out of time. Oxygen is a tissue bank. Oxygen recovers specimens from people who pass away in the hospital. So deaths that occur in the hospital, those patients have their tissues recovered, and then they're processed. Oxygen is a for-profit company in Florida. Locally, those tissues are recovered by a recovery group here in the area. Those tissue goes down to Oxygen. Mr. Levine is on the board of Oxygen. Mr. Levine gets stock and stock options every quarter from Oxygen. He's paid and he makes money from the deaths of these patients. I brought the forms from the Securities and Exchange Commission to back this up.
I'm sorry, but I have to stop you.
And I have given them to one commissioner.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak this evening? Okay, then that will conclude our public comments for tonight. And we will ask Mayor Patty Wood to come bring her payroll report.
No report.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Ms. Carolyn, are you ready to give a finance report?
The preliminary unaudited financials are included in your packet. If you have any questions about those, if you want to email me, give me a call. I'll be happy to entertain those. Other items are either in the minutes of financial management or the committee.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go into budget committee, please. And if we need a break before we finish, we'll take one, but let's try to get it started at least right now. This is current Vice Chairman Julie Glenn.
Okay, I would like
to present a motion to approve a loan for the jail HVAC project from Carter County Bank at the amount of 4.38% interest rate over a 12-year investment period and no restrictions on the payoff.
Okay, so the motion was placed by Vice Chairman Julie Glenn, seconded by Angie Oden. We're open for discussion if needed. Okay, let's vote.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Frazier,
Aye.
Okay, motion passed.
Okay, next up is a motion to accept the gift of the Herman Robinson campus and to pay the closing fee of $517 from the unassigned fund balance. This is the transfer fee.
Okay, seconded by Steve Burrow, open for discussion. Please vote.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Frazier,
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next motion is to accept the water treatment agreement for the cooling tower with Kim Aqua, including the glycol, for the yearly amount of $16,982.23 to be paid out of the unassigned fund balance.
Motion is seconded by Avery Wynn. Floor is open for discussion. Seeing no questions, we will vote.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Frazier,
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, next up is the motion to accept the contract with Noel for the installation of the pumps for the cooling tower in the amount of $5,230 to be paid from the unassigned fund balance.
Motion seconded by Jason Clausen. The floor is open for discussion. Please vote on the contract with Norwell.
Campbell,
No.
Frazier,
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, number 5 is the motion to accept the revised budget resolution for the 23-24 budget as requested by the Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration. The resolution amending resolution number 854, originally adopted on June 30th of 2023, and making appropriations for the various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies of Carter County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2024.
Motion is seconded by Todd Smith. Does anyone request to speak? Okay, let's vote.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Frazier,
Aye.
Motion passes.
Number 6, motion to approve Budget Amendment 101-4, items 1 through 3 in the amount of $222,328 with nothing coming from the unassigned fund balance.
Motion seconded by Nancy Brown. Let's vote.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Frazier,
Aye.
right, number 7, motion to approve budget amendment 121-2, items 1 through 12, in the amount of $6,983,150.28, with $6,708.66 coming from the unassigned fund balance.
Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Gary Campbell. The floor is open for discussion. Seeing none, let's vote.
Yes.
Mr. Frazier?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, number 8 is a motion to approve budget amendment 142-2, items 1 through 4, in the amount of $11,998,424.69, with nothing coming from the unassigned fund balance.
Seconded by Nancy Brown. Anyone have a question? Please vote.
Campbell?
Yes.
Frazier?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, number 9 is a motion to approve budget amendment 145-1, item 1, in the amount of $53,000, with nothing coming from the unassigned fund balance.
Motion seconded by, you want to be here, Gwen? It shows up as Jerry and Angie, so okay, Ms. Gwen, if we go with that. All right. So we'll go with what's on your screen for the motion and the second. Is there any discussion needed for budget item number 9? All right, let's vote on that one.
Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Number 10 is motion to approve animal shelter monetary donations totaling $1,865.
Okay, we're gonna go with the motion by Jerry Prophet, seconded by Julie Gwynn. Let's vote.
Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Number 11 is motion to approve the animal shelter non-monetary donations totaling $642.
Okay, Julie, he's kicked you out again.
That's okay.
He's quick on the trigger tonight.
Just send him to Family Feud.
All right, so motion by Jerry Prophet, seconded by Lisa Childers. Any discussion on item number 11 under budget committee?
He just figured out how that worked, Chair.
It's only taken 4 years, I think.
Okay, let's vote on the animal shelter non-monetary donations.
Campbell?
He does it, come back, he does it second class.
Mr. Frazier?
Okay, that concludes our budget items. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ms. Julie Gwynn. Chairman Daniel Prophet, would you like to go now? Does everybody need a break? What's your pleasure?
Daniel Prophet.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Do you want to take a break or want to go? We're going to go to break.
Go break, then we go to break. All right, Daniel McIntyre will be with us when we come back. 10 minutes.
Should I practice it?
President Julian and me.
I told Thomas I would retire.
Let's come back to order, please.
That's a good thing in my house.
Chairman Daniel McIntyre is coming to the podium to represent the Building and Grounds Committee.
All right, I'd like to put the form of a motion to approve acceptance, quick claim deed, transfer of the Herman Robinson campus on Arnie Street in the state of Tennessee. Now, second.
Avery has spoken in there, Mr. McIntyre, so Avery's gonna lead our motion and Kelly Collins is our second. Does anyone have questions? Okay, let's vote on the acceptance of the quick claim deed transfer of Herman Robinson campus.
Campbell,
Yes.
Aaron Frazier,
Yeah.
Motion passes, sir.
Thank you. All right, last thing, consideration of lease agreement with the state of Tennessee. The committee knew about this, we discussed it, but it hadn't come, well, it had to come in, I guess, but I'll let Attorney Parker speak.
Well, you all saw the lease in your packet. Like you said, it didn't have the final form ready at the time of the committee meeting. It's leasing back the space that the Tennessee Board of Regents is currently using at the Herman Robinson campus until they fully move out into the building. There's no rent. They're paying the utilities and the maintenance, so it's no cost to us, but they want to go ahead and transfer ownership. And we'll fully vacate it until the new facilities can come through.
So with that being said, entertain a motion.
Motion is made by Steve Burrow, seconded by Avery Wynn. Does anyone have questions? Please vote on the lease agreement.
Campbell,
Yes.
Frazier,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. All right, coming to the podium now is Chairman Franklin, Financial Management Committee.
From the Financial Committee, I place in the motion to accept the Tweety Trail grant for the state of Tennessee in the amount of $6,300,000 and to develop a master plan for trail development and extension and maintenance. Second.
Okay, Ms. Wynn, if you want to record that as Brad Johnson on the motion and Aaron on the second. Commissioners, is there any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, Danny Dean.
Yeah, I've been asking for the equipment cost and the initial cost to roll out this trail, which will be to the taxpayers because it's not covered under this grant. So I got in touch with the city and they gave me a overall equipment estimate. The equipment estimate for a mower, a bucket truck, a zero-turn mower, knuckle boom, a truck, F-250 truck, and a trailer to haul the mower comes at $481,000, $481,713.18. That is something we need to consider before we agree to do this because that is not covered in that grant. It's for the development of the trail. And I asked, I've been asking for information on it. The only information I got was what I dug up myself or what I learned from the town hall meeting. So that needs to be considered. Because as Mr. Gooch said at the town hall meeting, the revenue gain to Hampton will be very little. So this is all going to fall on the taxpayers.
Yeah, I'd like to add to Mr. This comes through financial management. We went 2 months through this, of which Mr. Deal is a member of it out of 7. There was many angles that we had to look at because of inside your packet is the actual copy of the grant. And it gives you the timetable, the amount, and the breakdown, and what the duration of the project is. Regardless of what your vote is, you understand that we have up to 5 years to develop this. The next thing is, I think that the mayor is prepared to make a information presentation here to give you a better look at what the project involved. In financial management, we discussed the ways that we could do to give us, I'm gonna say, a safety buff on this. Is that if it is accepted by you, that funds which will be received by the county, that we have been granted permission by the state of Tennessee to place that in, I'm gonna say, CDs for common money. And that we let that set for 6 months on the draw. And then from that 6 months interest fund, that we use it to develop a master plan. Which the one you see on the east one, I'll explain that a little later. But that's more or less like a master plan. It's telling you start the point, you end the point, some of the major features in the middle of it. And then to gain a price estimate by a engineer or engineering firm that will reflect the cost or the estimated cost, gross cost of developing this. This project does not have to be done in 1 year. You don't have to go, like Trojans out here thinking it can be done by Friday morning. This needs to be, after it's been looked at by several times, an engineer from the state says, let me give you a recommendation. End up in 2 phases or 3 phases, maybe even 4. To start with, while you're curing, you can get your master plan done. If the master plan and the estimate comes in and we are satisfied with the pricing of the estimate versus the amount of funds that we have that we can invest, if we can produce this project, that's good. But if it shows a figure that is not acceptable for the amount that is left us, because remember, out of that 6.3, 2.2 million goes to the City of Elizabethton Park and Recreation, which involves the bicycle, the watershed trail complex up there. So actually, we've got around 4.2. Now, if we get to the point where our estimates and all show that it's way over from what the amount we have, there is nothing that would keep us from saying, thank you very much for your consideration, but we will return you the total principal of what the amount of the project was. That's a safety. Any questions about that, the money part of it?
Yes, excuse me, Chairman Johnson.
Yes.
We have 3 commissioners requesting to speak. The only thing I need to know from, let me start with Avery. Avery, you're first. Do you want to ask your questions now, or do we want to let Mayor Whitby do her presentation and then ask questions?
Well, I think I'd like to ask it now.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
One of my primary concerns is the number of signs that are going to be at each intersection that road trail cross. I've been from West U Street all the way back as far as I can get, all the way down to Snap on crisscross. And there's from anywhere from 6 to 18 signs at particular road crossings. Those are expensive signs. They're all reflective lettering. To know where the trail crosses the road, and on each side of the trail there's a stop sign at the road on each side. When I was observing the bicycles, none of them stopped for those stop signs. Not the first one. If there's an accident between a car and a bicycle, who's going to be charged? Because if you're in the turn lane, you got a green arrow, you make that turn, bicycle runs into the side of you, are you going to be charged for obstructing the crosswalk? Or is he going to be charged for running a stop sign?
Either one of our legal eagles wanna answer that question?
It's gonna be case by case basis, depending on the investigation of whatever officer investigates that accident. But sure, I mean, there's
It's a concern that I have.
Sure. And I've seen that myself, and not everybody stops at those, and not all the cars stop for crosswalks, or about to, that's just
Well,
reality.
that's the thing. If you got a green light from the highway and you're going down the side road, do you stop for the pedestrian or the bicycle? Or are they still required to wait until it's a clear intersection?
They should, I mean, regardless of what the sign says, you're not gonna win in a battle against a car, if you're on a bicycle. But, it's supposed to be that those bicycles have the right of way. It's supposed to be on the trail crossings.
They got a stop sign there.
I realize that.
So do you wait for them to stop and then cross or what?
Do the best you can.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid is gonna happen. And that's gonna be a problem. Especially when you get out of town. Crossing the road there out of town, it's gonna be a big problem.
Part of may I address part of what your presentation is, such things as signage and safety. During this process of developing the master plan, the engineering firm is going to have to make sure that all of the designs and everything that transpires here is set to codes and laws. Okay, so that means that DOT is going to be involved because we are either crossing or can be on state right of ways. So they have the right to prescribe to us, if we use that, what we have to do for the safety of the public. Now, in review of, if you look at that plan from here in the city to up to Hampton High School where the watershed is, the first proposal was that from the end or the beginning of our right, from behind Snap-on all the way to Hampton, that when you go to the 19E, that you're on the side of the road. Well, that will be one alternative that would be estimated the cost versus getting the public off the state highway. You can actually leave from Johnson City, coming into Elizabeth, and from Elizabeth go to Hampton, you can go all the way to Hampton without crossing 19E whatsoever, if the cost of that is usable. It's not astronomical. That part would be on a county road. Right. Because everybody knows that over the years, that part of the rail system and the property of that has been built up to, built over road crossings, road parallels, and because of age, that section is the hurt more than any of it. So all of that will come into consideration on the estimate and But when it comes back from them, it will come back through financial management to this full body. And it, more than likely, I would say it'd be wise to take it on in and involve the building and grounds where it's another 8 eyes to look and see if the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, or if somebody has a better idea. Because we have to consider also such things as parking areas. And because there's a lot of people that would say, okay, I would rather start at the Valley Forge part of it and go on through the tunnel, go on to Hampton to the watershed. And then there's some that may want to go away from Johnson City to that point. There are special features about the Hope Pavilion. The most area that we have is not by a public road. When you go into the Valley Forge and you go all the way to Hampton, you're not seen by the public at all. So that invites, and could invite problems, but that also increases the safety features that we have to consider. Sheriff Fraley here has worked up what is going to have to be above and beyond his budget to be able to provide safety in law enforcement for the whole portion, but that particular. It's a whole lot harder because on the west end, when we're off of Cedar Grove Road, you got residents and the public every 200 feet or even closer, and it makes it much easier. But then we have to consider in the design such things as access for that and for first responders as rescue squads kind of like that. So that price will not be known until we get into the estimating side. But your question and the facts that are related to your question are extremely important, and they will be addressed. More than likely, you'll be invited to review with the rest of us to see that those are brought up or included in the design. So the cost for the sheriff and the cost of the maintenance is reoccurring. That means in our budget, that is funds that's going to come every year, not in there now. That means that we're going to have to find additional revenue, or if we have additional revenue already in our system, that will be able to cover that. It's also been looked at as how often that the maintenance was being pulled by Johnson City and by the city of Elizabeth. Make sure that the Fleet Trail in their district or in their jurisdiction are kept up to safety standards and usable, and no unsafe practices going on. It's a big ball of wax to get started, but I'm, it's kind of being in the construction field, having been on the federal government side of the house, it's kind of, I set aside that no master plan was presented when the governor's office or the Department of Transportation or whatever department of the state okey-dokey such a massive amount of funds without much information in their hand. It was qualified by, I'm going to say, practicing engineers and traffic safety and other jurisdictions, what their history is. Yeah, keep in mind, this is new. Nobody else has ever done it except us up here. And usage is going to be different from that section on the south end than it is what is on the west end. If any of y'all have not visited the Tweetsie Trail on a sunny Saturday and a Sunday or on a holiday, it's unbelievable. But I don't expect that many to be on the south end. Of course, that may be fooling us for right now, but that's up to the engineers to figure all that out and get their data. But I want you to rest assured that okay for the start of the project is coming out of this floor and nobody else. I think to help answer some of your questions, Mayor, if you would, I believe it would be best if you think that you should show what you have.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to Aaron and Wes are going to kind of tag team it together. And I'm going to help them if they need me for any questions or presentations. They're going to kind of do a briefing of what they did at the town hall. And the 6th district had theirs. That's okay with you.
With your permission, sure.
I would say, please, present thoroughly but briefly, gentlemen. Thank you.
And I also want, before they get started, I do want to say one thing. The county currently owns this property. So we're supposed to be maintaining it now. We're supposed to be policing it now. If the bridge falls down and somebody's on it, we're responsible for it now. The liability's on us now. So all of those nuances are on our agenda right now to be taking care of this property, which is not currently being done. So we whether or not this is a go or not go, we still own a piece of property that we have to maintain. So the budget committee will eventually have to come up with money for maintenance for this property because we do have to maintain it regardless. It has to be mowed, it has to be policed. It's county property and we do have to maintain it. So that was just something I wanted the commission to realize too. Either way we go, we still have to maintain this property. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Pat. Well, should I go ahead? Give them this 50,000 foot view.
50,000 foot view. So many of y'all I know came to the town hall we had last month, and I think we tried to help answer as many questions as we could there. I felt positive leaving that meeting that we were aimed in the right direction. But at the end of the day, we were gifted this piece of property. We have put a volunteer effort together to put together the best project that we could. Went down to Nashville. They saw the benefit of it, and they're giving us the money to help get this done. It will benefit, I think, the county. It will benefit us region-wide. It's, we're really connecting 3 different communities with this potential trail system. And we'll have a unique amenity in having a bike park on both sides of those trail systems. So basically, I'm just here to answer any questions you guys have.
Let me give you guys just a little bit of other info. Like, I'd already spoken with Sheriff Fraley, and we knew that he was going to need additional personnel and additional piece of equipment. It's not something that we have to worry about this year or even potentially next year. City of Elizabethton, their numbers are out there because I bid it out because I contacted a couple of different contractors with what the City of Elizabethton put in their numbers for maintenance on the trail, and they said they would do it for $10,000 less, and they didn't even blink. They didn't even know what it was. They know the stretch that they have to maintain. The City of Elizabethton overstates, I think, a little bit of what they've got in there. I don't know how much, but I think there's some overstatement in there. You can look at the City of Johnson City and get some better numbers. Johnson City has their own Parks and Rec department, and what they put into it, they have as big, if not a bigger bridge to maintain, and they have multiples of them along the trail. They're not significant. They were not statistically significant in and above what Johnson City had listed out for theirs. The majority of the section that runs from the tunnel to the other side, a lot of that doesn't have to be mowed on either side of it. It's not something that we have to maintain because on one side, you've got a complete drop off to the creek, and the other side, you've got the side of the mountain, and that side of the mountain, somebody as far as that goes. I haven't looked at the specific deeding and gone out and GPSed exactly where it goes at, but there's not going to be a ton to maintain along the sides. When you get in the 6 to 12 inches of gravel along the top of the surface through there, yeah, there's some spots we got fixed, but there's spots that had to be fixed everywhere. You're not going to have to mow down the center of the trail. We're also not going to have the same problem that the City of Elizabethton has, where the people that own businesses along the trail and they have their groundskeepers coming in to mow that section. They're not getting on the trail running donuts in their zero turns like I saw in front of Dairy Queen the other day. So that's a big, I don't think the maintenance cost over time, if we wanted to have a Parks and Rec department, yeah, that'd be the initial startup for a Parks and Rec department. But over the first few years of it, I don't think you don't have to dive in and buy everything. And even then, you're going to need a mower and a guy and a truck and a trailer.
And one thing I know the City of Elizabeth told us, they're sharing that equipment with multiple other facets. So that, it's not, we're having to go buy all the equipment just for this project. Just like the City of Elizabeth and the county has equipment that they share back and forth for various departments and entities.
Mr. Bradley, on that line, so we have that equipment right now with the county. So we've got those pieces of equipment I mentioned. I've got all the quotes right here and everything that the City of Elizabeth uses on that trail. No, we don't. So we're going to have this equipment to maintain that trail. Now, we can buy a piece of used equipment cheaper. That's a possibility. But I mean, all this equipment, every piece of equipment that I've gotten this from the City of Elizabeth is every piece they use on that trail.
And some of it's in a 3 to 5 year period, and some of it's, weekly. But we also could look at it another way and contract out, give some of our local landscape people opportunities to put bids in and let them use their equipment for some of this stuff.
I just spitballed numbers at a couple of people. If we had to mow the entire stretch from the end of Snap-on all the way up and back, it would be 25 linear miles of mowing with a 6-foot mower running at about 12 miles an hour. And including in cost estimates for the removal of trees and stuff like that, most of them came back at around $35,000 a year. But that's if we have to mow the entire, how many miles? 4.3 miles up and back. That's obviously spitball numbers, but we don't have that much to mow. A lot of it is just
woodland.
I mean, it's in the woods. People don't want a manicured lawn whenever you're riding through the woods. We don't have to maintain it at that level. We don't have to maintain it like they have to maintain the Elizabethton golf course. People that are riding on these trails are going to understand and go to want that mountain feel. So a lot of it, yeah, we got to pick up trees and stuff. We already have to pick up trees and stuff off of it now, especially if there's trees down on the Jenkins Hollow side, or if there's trees down on, we don't have to worry about trees on the main part right now. But going out to the bridge, those have to be taken out anyway. Elizabeth mowed it for the first time that I know of this year. They mowed it in October. They didn't touch it until October. And it still wasn't in terrible condition, even with them only mowing it once every year and a half, 2 years. So yeah, if we want to have a Parks and Rec department, that's part of it. Part two of it or another part of it was the security issue for the tunnel. The Chamber of Commerce popped up and said that they can use the tourism dollars that we give them on an annual basis to install cameras on that tunnel, because the tunnel school's a fan. Everybody loves that tunnel. And we can install cameras there for the construction as well. And those cameras would go to the sheriff's department. I'm certain we could put other trail cams in other locations down through there and tie it into the sheriff's department, and also make it available on YouTube or the county website, where you can see what's going on that section of the trail. And we can use the tourism dollars that we already paid the Chamber of Commerce to do. Because the camera that they have just pointed at the covered bridge, I forget how many thousands of watch hours it gets every year of just people just turning it on and just letting it play in the background because of the way it sounds. So a lot of the security concerns over the tunnel itself can be taken care of, because you can have cameras on either end, camera in the middle. You pretty much got the whole thing covered. Lighting it, that's another story that we'll have to dig into later. But if we have to power the cameras that are out there already, we're going to have electricity, and we can go ahead and get the lighting right as well. Part of the property that we got, and another thing that makes this so appealing is this is the location of the original forge from Valley Forge. So Tweetsy would roll ore out of the mountains and roll it down into that section, and they would sluice it off, and they had a big water hammer that came off the dough and a big forge right there along the side of the trail. Currently, that's where a lot of squatters go in and decide they want to set up camp is inside. But the forge is remarkably intact. Any of the missing stones are still laying on site. So there's an opportunity for a historic park element there that we may be able to work with the state on, to have them help and get the forge back up and running, and potentially have a third state park along the side of the trail. So, and the forge was in operation up until the 1920s, 1930s, something like that. So, and it's held up remarkably well. But we've looked at a lot of different things as far as how to plan out everything going forward, but we really need an engineering firm to come in and say, this is the best route. TDOT has all kinds of different things that they can do for cyclists, and cyclists have to follow the same rules of the road as a car do. So if they're found at fault and they hit somebody in the car door, it's on them if they just bolted on through a stop sign.
So you said needing a director. You definitely need work crew. There's no doubt about it. City of Elizabeth is currently 64 hours every 2 weeks in the summer to keep the mowing, the trimming up and everything along the trail. That's not repairing washouts. When they have washouts, they call Johnson City, because they don't have the equipment to take care of that. It takes a roller, a grader, a dump truck to be able to come in there and fix the washouts from the trail. So, these are things we really need to be looking at, because this is real life with the trail. You're going to have washouts, especially in this trail. I think that with the trail itself, if it goes along 19E, has TDOT been contacted? Have they been asked if it's even doable?
TDOT has been contacted about it, and they say their actual answer is let's get to that point first, because they have done projects similar to this in other locations. Even crossing the river, they have a attachment that they can throw onto the side of a bridge to where it's inaccessible for bikes. So we don't actually have to put bikes on the bridges there in Valley Forge. But there's the old trail line is still on tax maps. So we know where it roughly ran. Thought process is just try to stick as close as we possibly can to that because we get the grade that we want. And then the other side is just get it started, send them down 19E, cyclists aren't gonna care. I'm not that type of guy. I wouldn't ride my family down 19E. I don't care how much you pay me. But as far as the cost goes, again, even if we were to shop it out and we would get, and it would be $35,000 or $45,000 a year for the maintenance on the trail, that's still 10 years out of buying the equipment ourselves. It's not an instantaneous because the estimate was $481,000. Well, that's 10 years of shopping it out, or we could buy it and then in 10 years have to buy it again, 15 years. So.
And with the master plan also, TDOT's not gonna take us serious with this project until we get a master plan and get things established. I mean,
because they have resources that they have to manage as well. And they're not gonna throw a whole bunch at it if we're not moving forward on something.
They couldn't sit down and tell you this is doable or it's not.
Oh, we know it's doable.
Yeah, they gave us examples.
Yeah, they're the ones that gave us the examples of how to get it down. And they've done it in other locations. They just dedicated $30 million for a greenway project in Memphis. At the same time, they gave us $6 million. I've said, well, we should ask for 30 then. But, you know, either whichever way it goes. But TDOT has a good idea about how to run these things. And one of the things the state has to do now is anytime that they build in a new road or change a road or add a road is they have to add a bike lane to it. So there's enough right of way along the side of 19E where that is something that could be done and it could be a dedicated road and it could be barriered off and different things like that. But we're not to that point yet. I'm not able to say, yeah, that's the best idea. That's what we're going to go with. I want to talk to some experts, but again, they're not going to dedicate hours, hundreds of man hours to a particular project if there's not going to be a project.
Who's going to oversee the maintenance of the trail? We'd like to set up a department.
Not necessarily. I mean, in none of the other parks in the county that we own, which is Eric Anderson Park, Happy Trails Park, Greenbridge Landing, those all have friends organizations that work and maintain and manage those parks, and we fund them.
That's one thing Jenny Brock has brought to us. She would love to get a friend of our trail system. Adopt a highway program where one organization takes a part of the trail, another part. So there's a lot of different organizational efforts we can do to help with that.
But with a friends group, I'm a member of a friends group. You won't be able to take the equipment to the trail. You won't be able to do all that. So you'll have to have some kind of staffing. So that's going to be a recurring cost. I mean, whether you have a director or manager, whatever help there is needed to maintain this trail, it will be a recurring cost for the taxpayers.
Yeah, again, if we shop it out and send it to a contractor and say, hey, this is your section of the trail, this is our expectations. It doesn't have to be mowed every 2 weeks or every week. It can be mowed once a month. And notifications of trees down, and we have a contract, we have a contract in there that says, hey, if we have a tree down, you have to get it removed within 24 hours. Those are all things that are easily included in a contract, and it doesn't have to be a $481,000 payout right up front. I mean, if we can get away with at 35 or 45 a year, you've still got 10 years before you would get to that. And let's say 5 years from now, we decide we've got enough to where we have to put in a whole Parks and Rec department because everybody that manages Roan Mountain dies off and Wes here falls off a cliff and nobody's managing Greenbridge anymore and stuff like that. Then yeah, I mean, that would be something that we would have to look at that time, but it's not the upfront cost on it. We don't have to go whole hog and start buying all this stuff until we know what we actually need, where the trail's going to run. If it runs through state right away, we don't have to mow it, the state does. So the only section that we've got to worry about is from Railroad Street all the way down to the end of the property that we have. And that's not a huge trek. And considering most of it's either tunnel or bridge right now, you've just got the section leading up to that and the section after that we would have to worry about and maintain.
If a tree falls and you open that trail, you're going to need enough balloon and some saws and some people.
Well, we got trees out all the time at Hampton. We literally spent a Saturday in the spring when all the windstorms hit. And we worked with the city of Elizabethton, who let us borrow a mini thumb bucket on it. And 5 of us volunteers got out there, spent 6 hours and cut literally 30 trees out just to clear the right of way for that. So you got a lot of volunteers who are willing to put in the sweat equity.
And when, on the governor's visit, I can't think of his name, I'm totally spaced on it. The guy that runs Autumn Ridge, he went up there and cut out a triple stack of trees before the sheriff's department got up there to work on it. Because he said that it was a dangerous cut. So it's 6 one way, half dozen the other. We've got the opportunity to do it. City of Elizabethton still has to maintain that front section in there right now so they can access the tunnel. If there's any trees down in there, they just need to be notified in the short term to cut out the trees where they're maintaining. And
they got to keep a right of way for the all the infrastructure in there with the water lines.
And it's not just that section of the trail. You've got the $2 million that's going to go into the Hampton watershed. And the objective here is to do something that most other trail systems don't get the opportunity to have. And that's a bike park at the top and a bike park at the bottom. Historically, you've only got it at the bottom, what's what we have right now with Tannery Knobs over in Johnson City. So the Tweetsie Trail runs the Tannery Knobs. So people have a bike park down there. You've got one at the top and you've got one at the bottom. People are going to bike at the top, and they're going to run the trail all the way to the bottom, bike at the bottom of Tannery Knobs. So
it takes a local asset and turns it into a regional destination. What it does.
But not everybody's interested in cycling and biking.
What other opportunities do we have in front of us right now?
All these citizens will be paying for it. Mm-hmm. So remember that. I mean, not everybody cycles and bikes, but the 57.5 that live in this county will be paying for it.
And that's the tourism aspect of it. For every single dollar that we pull in sales tax revenue, that's $1 off of the property tax that goes to the school system. Because with the way the new TISA formula works, whatever the sales tax revenue brings in off the 2 3/4%, we have to make up the rest out of property tax revenue. So the more dollars that we bring in on sales tax revenue takes away and frees up dollars that can go into the schools fund, which is by and large the biggest chunk, well, one of the biggest chunks that we have, because it's around $1 million in sales tax revenue that goes in. So by increasing tourism, we're reducing the burden. I'm not saying it's going to be a 1-for-1 ratio, but I think it's going to be a significant ratio once the trail system is complete. The only thing that we have asset-wise that we can utilize, number one, is our natural resources. And number 2 would be history. Both of those are tourism related. The number of people that travel here on the year to go to Sycamore Shoals and to go to the rhododendron gardens, camp at Roman Mountain and different places like that, those are the big draws because those are the ones that are available on the state website. When you start pulling in other things for people to do whenever they travel here, especially cyclists, because like shooters, they spend money like crazy whenever they go to travel somewhere and they go to bike. So it's the largest industry in Carter County is agriculture still. So the money that's brought in agriculture is still number 1. But the number two tax revenue generator is tourism because of sales tax revenue that goes through people when they come here to eat. They come here, they go to Walmart, different places like that. That sales tax revenue that they spend is where that comes in at. And I forget the exact number, but it's it's around $4 million annually that tourism brings in just in sales tax revenue.
Keep in mind, it's not.
Excuse me, I'm going to interrupt right there, because I'm reading the room and we're starting to lose attention at this point. And I've got 2 commissioners that have been waiting to speak for over 20 minutes. So I'm going to go to the next one, and that is Angie Odom.
You'll bear with me, I've got some questions, so instead of me just laying it out loud, we'll just kind of slowly do it, okay? For one, I just want to point out, we do have the current Tweetsie Trail currently that the sheriff did speak on that we need some ATVs for now. That we currently have citizens walking it, we currently have them cycling it, and it has not been, right now, we do not have sheriffs, they don't have ATVs. So we still got to figure out where that money's going to come from that they know, that they need, because we all know it's not in the budget, because we all went through budget time and they do not have extra money for that. So one of my huge concerns is we already have a project that's done that we don't have enough money to do anything with. And that being said, you know, we already had a tax increase on our property owners. And then it's not fair for us to keep having to look at them to pull us out of things that are optional, that are not the emergencies. And I recall of what I've learned through the seasoned commissioners in here, there are certain emergency things that are required by a county. And so we have to look at what those things are. So that's my concern, is we already have an existing project that's not completed in the first round, and that is security for what is happening. And knowing who is daily checking that part that we're responsible for. If there's a tree down, that's great, you go out there. But if you, that tree down all day and tomorrow, if someone's not out there and someone gets hurt, then that's what I would think is a different liability. Just the same if I dump mop water and I don't get it up right away and someone falls at the center. So, you know, because my next question is, who is daily checking these things? So that's some questions there. And then I hear you say about cycle at the top and cycle at the bottom, and maybe I've misunderstood, and so that's why I need clarification. I thought the Tweetsy Trail was for people, children, people, not just bicycles, to be on the trail. And I keep hearing about cycles on the top, cycles on the bottom. So I went 2 weeks ago with my niece and got on the trail down on West End. First day, I have been on the trail forever because I hadn't had time to be on a trail. But in the one day out of the blue that I did choose to get on the trail, between the ball field going towards, it was still on our county side, not quite past Happy Valley Elementary, there was a man with a backpack on where it said no trespassing. Of course, me and my niece, I'm not gonna lie, I had my taser, she had her pepper spray. I wouldn't let my children or my 31-year-old walk the trail by herself, not that way. Because at my nonprofit, I know what's coming in on the trail from Johnson City. It is making a difference of what's coming to our town as far as the needs. But also, I have a video of my phone of without any warning. I thought they're supposed to ring bells, they're supposed to yell or whatnot, but I have a video of about 25 bikes that when I turned around, they were already on us going extremely fast. That if I had had a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old or other children, I would have not been able to grab them by the hand and get them out of the way of all of these bikes coming through. So for one, from my knowledge, our county has not established any kind of rules or any type of, if you're going to be on the trail, this is how many bikes, or this is how fast, or there needs to be some clarifications because of liability wise right now. We're talking about what we are going to be liable for. We are already liable for with the existing trail. So we need to distinguish, is this trail for bikes or is it for everyone? And if it is for everyone, then we need to make sure it's for everyone so that when I see these moms and these kids and stuff, we're not out here dodging. I mean, all of these people that are in here training for some bike race because you can't get out of the way fast enough, and especially if we're heading up toward Valley Forge and Hampton. That area is a whole different ballgame than straight down in the city. So my question to you is, in this paper that we have tonight, it says that we were talking from what Brad Johnson mentioned, Commissioner Johnson, and he said that the money up front, we would be given the money up front and we would put it in there, and then the interest from that is what we would go on this master plan. But it states in section D9, it says here, it says that, but in this section, it appears that the funds will be paid upfront by the state. It's not saying it is for sure being paid upfront. So could someone clarify, do we have a for sure here? Because we're for sure voting on this tonight. So it can't appear in a different way. It either is or it isn't, that we get all of the money upfront.
We can get all the money up front, absolutely.
Why does it have wording appears in this document?
I didn't write it.
Would you direct that to?
Okay, then who wrote it? It says Twin Sea Trail Expansion Grant Contract. Where did it come from?
Refer to your attorney.
Okay, attorney, pardon.
These are my notes and suggested revisions and questions to the state.
This isn't the original contract.
Okay, but
The contract is the 15th, I think it's.
so section D9 is what I was questioning. It says that but in this section, it appears that the funds will be paid in full upfront by the state.
Like I said, these are the things
Did we get clarification? We get the money up front.
No, the contract states, section C3, total advance payment is the payment methodology. What I was addressing was the inconsistencies throughout. So there are some places where it talks about reporting requirements differently than other sections. And I pointed out all the concerns that I had with it and the places where I would ask for some clarification or revision. We sent that through the mayor to the folks at the state, and there hasn't been a formal response yet, other than they're forwarding it on up to the other people to look at. But yes, the contract itself from the state, the grant contract does say the payment methodology is total advance payment up front. I was just talking about in that other section, it seems to throw water on that idea.
Okay.
So I was trying to make sure that it was consistent language throughout.
So you feel comfortable in advising us that you feel this money will be upfront?
Sure, I mean, that's what the actual payment section of the contract says.
Okay.
Section D9 is an unrelated part of that, but it's kind of, as I pointed out, the language in that calls into question the earlier language. But in a perfect world, sure, I wish they would make all the revisions and suggestions that I have, but that's not normally how it works in a contract when you're negotiating with another side, especially when that other side is giving you $6.3 million for nothing. So we can't ask them to definitely take my language and suggestions. It's either take or leave it, officially. But my understanding is that has been forwarded on to the legal folks at the state, who will look at it, and hopefully we can iron out most of these issues. It just hasn't happened.
And to address one other part of it, there has never been a contract like this written in the state. So it is coming from scratch, and all the conversations the mayor has had with them, they're paying it out up front. We can keep it. We can put it in, we can draw the interest off of it. That's kind of.
Okay, I know it's a conversation, but I was wondering, so my second question would be, in section D18 on this paper that is now I understand from reading here. My question is, and what Commissioner Johnson was talking about is, we'll have our portion, but then the city gets their portion. And then we have 5 years to determine, we have that time period. But what if they spend their money first? Then what do we do?
Question up front about it. We cannot do anything until this full commission accepts.
Oh, yes, how I know.
Okay. And then we know here from the motion itself stated that we use the invested interest for the development of a master plan and an estimate.
Yeah, but the 2 point, the part that goes to the city.
I don't think, I asked a question to our attorney, was the fact that 2.2 million or 2.4 million went to the city for the watershed part, and that leaving us with 4.2. If by chance this commission says, no, we're not going to accept it, does that rule the 2.2 that goes to the city as a whole, or will they separate it? I would think that it would have to go back through the state to say, well, we can remove the 4.2 for the county and still forward the 2.2 to the city. Now, that's not in writing, and that's something we have to look further into. But right now, it's either acceptance with the, as I said, at the very last thing, I can send it back. And everything that, has been discussed so far here is all reflected into the preliminary 25% contract working drawings that will give you an estimate as to what the cost of this venture is going to be.
And my last point, and then I'll hush, and that is, I will have to say I have some concerns just that I have to voice that are from a couple business owners and some things up that way. Because I know we said downtown, I already know the trouble downtown with businesses. You know, not enough bathrooms, they're coming in, you know, they go to the bathroom behind their dumpsters. You know, some businesses have trouble with delivery, and that is true. In the county, there's not as many, but there is some, and that is, you know, you've got Hayward, they already don't have a lot, you know, not just them, but others along that way, but they already have trouble with parking, not the 19. So if they, you know, even though the teacher was there, we get it years ago, when they were there, they weren't businesses, they weren't houses, they weren't all in the same place. So when you're giving up that area, I also understand with the contract, you can't buy property, and I understand this property is already ours, but now there's parking lots, and now there's people's yards with swing sets. So some that I've heard, and that is, so you're telling me I'm gonna have strangers walking through my backyard now when my kids are at play? Or you're telling me I'm gonna lose some of my parking, it's already really fast. So I'm asking you to address this issue because they're listening and they want to know if it comes up 19E, you know, and that is the case, or even cuts through the neighborhood they're going to the tunnel. Because I'm used to that area because we're a food truck in the area, that Mill Pond Road and all that. I'm just saying, people want to know, even if it's there, their house or their yards are there now. So that's going to be bringing people straight through their backyard or their property. That's not been there now. So how would you address that to the concerned citizens on that and the business owners? Because these are the ones that pay our taxes in our county.
Can I interrupt? As your, I don't need a dissertation. About brief it.
Okay, that's all. Address that.
This is not the first rail trail that's went in. And of course, we've had a functioning Tweetsie Trail of 9.7 miles, what it is, since 2012. And I mean, it's obviously a working model. It's not perfect. You hit it on a bad day, obviously. That's not been my tip. I run it, I walk my dogs on it, I bike it. I mean, it's just part of, you know, it's a greenway. And you know, Bristol has a greenway, Kingsport has a greenway. We now have a greenway thanks to the Tweetsie Trail. And so, you know, it's something that you just got to work through as a community and talk and have an open conversation to figure out what to be able to do.
And currently, outside of the section that we own, Carter County has no say in how the rest of the trail is running at all. It all either falls inside the city limits of Elizabeth or Johnson City. So you can't tell anybody what they can and can't do on the road. So the sheriff's department, to my knowledge, there is no current sections of the Tweetsie Trail that the sheriff's department would have to police.
You're inside the county, that's the sheriff's territory. Nobody can override it except the general assembly.
Right, but what I'm saying is that up in
Cedar Grove Road is Carter County. Okay, that's his authority. Am I correct, Sheriff?
well, the city of Johnson City covers everything out to the end of their city limits. The city of Elizabeth covers everything out to the end of their city limits. The section that's in between the city of Johnson City and maintains.
It used to, there was Johnson City cops out there that was actually patrol on bikes that Johnson City followed up until COVID, and that I haven't seen them since COVID.
Yeah. So again, most of that was done through the Tweetsie Trail Conservancy and the Tweetsie Trail Task Force whenever all that was started. The county wasn't invited and wasn't involved in those in the maintenance and maintaining of the Tweetsie Trail. So it was all handled outside of our scope because
I have to interrupt again. Okay, this has been going on for another 15 minutes. I've still got two commissioners requesting to speak, so I want to get to you all, but we have been on this topic for going on an hour now. So Ms. Collins, as you begin, just keep that in mind, but the floor is yours.
I just had a question for Commissioner Deal. When you said that the equipment was 400 and, I couldn't hear you.
81,000.
81,000.
Was that specifically only used on the Tweetsie Trail in the city limits, or was it used for baseball fields and so forth? When I called and checked, I was told that that equipment was used for baseball fields, my street that I live on mowed in the middle of Parkway Boulevard and others.
That's correct, because if you buy a piece of equipment, it'd be foolish just to use it on one trail. So they do use that on other things, but we're starting from scratch.
Right. Well, the way it was presented, it sounded like it was only for the city part of the Tootsy Trail, and I wanted to
Equipment
clarify.
they utilize all over the city, but with us, we're starting from scratch.
Well, I know that the city only mows my street, if we're lucky, every third week. So, I don't know how much they mow the Tweetsie Trail. I mow it more than that, but my street's only mowed every 3 weeks, and that's if I'll complain.
They said every 2 weeks,
I
64
have
hours
I have to
total.
see that schedule in writing before I believe that. Based on my experience with our street. That's all I had. I wanted to clarify that.
Okay, no, actually now we have Todd Smith and then Lisa Childress has also put in a request. So Todd.
Couple of things. First of all, I've been walking this trail since I was 6 years old. Right where we're talking about. My dad and me, as a little kid, walked up and down that trail. Now I'm lucky enough to do it with my grandson, who's 10 years old. I'd like to see that continue on. With that being said, I know that we were lacking in information initially, but we've seemed to have been able to fill those gaps in over the last few weeks. There's two things I've discovered when you talk about the cyclers. First of all, don't underestimate what lengths they'll go to make sure something gets done and done right. I've discovered that without a second thought. Secondly, the part of the trail that we're looking at, a friends group up in that area, just from the people that I know that like to ride and walk, you would have to probably be driving people off that wanted to go in there and help. Honestly, you would. One more thing, and I'll turn it back over to the chair. As far as the people down through there who had complained, when we had our town hall meeting, we had pretty much everybody on that street that were at the town hall meeting. We had one issue with one gentleman got out of hand. It was handled pretty quickly and went on. Les and Ken spent a long time after the meeting talking with those individuals. And to my knowledge, that had been taken care of, or at least those concerns addressed. Am I right, Wes? That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Childress.
Yes, and I'll make this very brief, and it's a money question. If this passes this evening and the monies get placed into CDs and 2 or 3 years pass by and you're gaining money, you're getting interest on that, and then it doesn't come to fruition, what happens to the interest of the money that is, if we turn the 6.6 million back or the 4.2 million back, what happens to the money that has been earned?
I was told that any money that is received by grant or by vendors for the Tweetsie Trail is to be 100% committed for the Tweetsie Trail, whether it be in maintenance, whether it be in law enforcement, whether it be in equipment, whether it begins in improvements, extensions. Is that basically correct, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, sir. Every cent would have to be used on Tweetsie Trail related activities. You couldn't put that money in the bank, gain interest, use for other things.
That's what I was curious about, was the money gained on that, and then the project fails and it doesn't go through, and you say you have $100,000 worth of interest. Does that get turned back to the state along with the money?
Wouldn't that be the right thing to do?
Yes. But I was just asking for clarification on that.
That's one of them, that word assuming, you know what that means. Everybody pretty well knows later in life, that's it. And that's what we're doing until I think we went down a rabbit hole here. Number one is we gotta have to change to the starting point to see if we can or if we can't. All these other things that have been mentioned in discussion, but there is a place for them. That is after we have a professional group to come in and do the master plan and a 25% working drawing, which is known as a preliminary, that will tell us down pretty close to within 5% of the cost of it. It's just an operation plan, but we do have a fail-safe. That's the good part.
The vast majority of the money is designed to be used on the Hampton watershed trails and on the construction of the bridge itself. The leftover funding is going to be used for the master planning of everything moving forward from that. What this is to do is to put the fire under the kettle and get something going.
Without the bridge, literally, we can't bridge the gap between Hampton and Valley Forge. I mean, that's the whole purpose of it. We're building bridges.
Commission, or I believe you all are ready to vote. Am I correct in that assumption? Okay. Chair Johnson?
Yes, ma'am.
We have the motion from you and a second from Aaron Frazier.
Does it need to be restated for anybody?
Does anybody need that motion restated? Okay. All right, let's vote on the motion that financial management committee brought forward to accept the Tweetsie Trail grant from the state of Tennessee in the amount of $6,300,000. This is to develop the master plan primarily that you're voting on tonight.
Campbell. Mayor Frazier.
Aye.
It's Gamble.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. All right, the Chair of Health and Welfare, Mr. Nick Holder, is coming forward.
Good evening. I'll ask Attorney Hart if he would like to read it before we get started. Resolution, please, sir.
Sure. This is a resolution expressing concerns with the level of healthcare services currently being provided in Carter County and the current oversight and regulation of the operations of Ballad Health. Whereas in 2018, Ballad Health was formed via a merger between United States Health Alliance and Wellmont Health System, which essentially afforded Ballad a monopoly on the healthcare provided in Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. This monopoly was permitted via a change in state law, despite the objections and concerns raised by many at the time, but without any truly meaningful chance for the public at large to oppose it. Whereas the concerns and fears that were expressed prior to the merger and the healthcare monopoly it created in this region now appears to be valid. Whereas Ballad is believed to have failed to meet all the financial obligations and quality of care benchmark standards it promised it would in exchange for the healthcare monopoly it was afforded. Whereas the level of care being provided in some Ballad facilities has reportedly decreased to the point that many citizens of Northeast Tennessee have advised the Board of County Commissioners of their decisions to seek care either out of state or further away from their homes at non-Ballad controlled facilities. Whereas in recent years, the citizens of Carter County specifically have suffered from the loss of essential services such as the intensive care unit and obstetrics and gynecology services at Sycamore Shoals Hospital. Whereas due to the decision made by Ballad to close the intensive care unit at Sycamore Shoals Hospital, the citizens of Carter County and the surrounding areas have been forced to travel further and wait longer to receive potentially life-saving emergency medical treatment. And the increased distance and time spent in transit during an emergency could ultimately result in catastrophic consequences. And whereas compounding these concerns is the fact that Sycamore Shoals Hospital Emergency Department is often placed on diversion status, thus forcing longer transports and waiting times for EMS personnel and tying up the limited number of ambulances available to respond to emergencies in Carter County at any given time. And whereas it is feared that the continued operation of the healthcare monopoly held by Ballad or the failure to strictly regulate the same will result in an ongoing downward spiral in the overall level and quality of care provided locally and the loss of many more services to potentially include the outright closure of Sycamore Shoals Hospital. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners for Carter County, Tennessee, meeting in regular session on this 23rd day of October, 2023, with the lawful quorum of said board being present, with majority voting in the affirmative as follows. Number one, that the board hereby adopts this resolution to formally express its concerns on behalf of the citizens of Carter County about the local healthcare monopoly held by Ballad Health and the consequences faced by the citizens of Carter County and Northeast Tennessee if Ballad's operating standards are not strictly monitored and regulated. Number two, that the board hereby respectfully requests that Governor Bill Lee and elected representatives for Carter County and this region currently serving in the Tennessee General Assembly take any and all available actions possible at the state level on behalf of the citizens of Carter County and or their constituents to protect the citizens of Carter County and Northeast Tennessee, and explore any law changes available that could break up or better regulate Valley Hill's current monopoly on local health care. Number three, that the board respectfully requests that Governor Bill Lee and the elected representatives of Carter County and this region currently serving in the Tennessee General Assembly relay these concerns to the Commissioner of the Tennessee Department of Health and any other appropriate officials on behalf of the citizens of Carter County and Northeast Tennessee, so that if this healthcare monopoly continues to exist, at least the practices of Valley Health may be more appropriately monitored and regulated in the best interest of the citizens of Carter County and all Tennesseans.
Thank you, Attorney Holder. Would any commissioner like to make a motion to approve the resolution expressing concerns with the level of healthcare services currently being provided in Carter County and the current insight and regulation over the operations of Valley Health?
We have a motion by Nancy Brown and a second by Avery Wynn. And we already have two requests to speak. The chair recognizes Todd Smith.
That was my error, Chair.
That was Darren, okay.
Yeah, because I can't see my finance director. She goes, please. Oh, she's away.
Kelly Collins.
Dr. Acuff couldn't be here, and he had asked me to mention that there's no mention in here of ongoing dialogue. And basically, that's what we complained about Ballard doing to us in the first place. So I wanted to mention that also. And, you know, I don't think, first off, I want to say, someone said we're afraid. I'm not afraid of making a hard decision. And I made them before, and this one is definitely very hard. And I'm not afraid of Alan Levine. And maybe I should be, but I'm really not. But this should have been done when this first happened, when they first merged, or that's when this should have happened. And there's a couple things in here that I wanted to ask about. On section 2, it says break up and to better regulate, break up and do what? That's just so vague, and it's a little unclear to me what that was meant. Break up the hospitals and have, I didn't really understand exactly what that meant right there. And I was going to ask about the section up here, about 4 paragraphs down. I thought the OBGYN section was closed before this merger even started. So that's, you know, a little bit misleading right there to me. You know, I think we're opening up a can of worms here that to private businesses that I think could hurt us. And, you know, I've had good experiences and I've had bad experiences with the hospital. I hear everybody going on and on about Vanderbilt being so fantastic. Well, I had major surgery down there, and I can tell you I did not have a good experience down there and did not get good service. So, you know, this is in every hospital. Am I mad that they closed the intensive care and the other areas? Yes, I'm very mad and very upset about it. But I think that this is, you know, contrary to popular belief, they really are considered a private business, and they really shouldn't be, but they are, and this is life-threatening to us in some areas because of what they're doing. But there's other businesses that I have problems with too, and I just feel like this is opening a can of worms there that we may down the road regret. That's all I have.
Thank you. Angie, you have the floor.
I just want to clarify the difference that makes them. I know in one of the letters that was sent to someone from Ballot to us that was sent individually, he compared it to like Lowe's or Walmart. The difference of them and Lowe's and Walmart or private business is that they are a not-for-profit public business. They accept public funding. They serve the public in a service, which is totally different than going to Walmart or Lowe's and buying something. How they're registered with the state and with what that is. So that's what makes it totally different. In that, also with Medicaid and Medicare and everything else that's out there, there's a lot of different types of stipulations on the way that their service is. So that was the one thing. And as far as with OB, we realized that when they closed, but if you do recall during one of our meetings, we asked, I even asked Victor Levine about that service, being that would he bring it back? And he said no, he would not service this hospital with what we once had. Which when Mr. Von Cannon spoke, God love his soul, he mentioned that little tiny hospital we started out with. And then we had our hospital. All those years we were able to hang on to a birthing center. But now in 2023, we can't have babies in Cartertown. So that's why I asked him, because we are the hospital that also serves Johnson County. And so I literally, and it was even on the news, one of the news channels covered it. We had a girl give birth in an ambulance, which I know it can happen before, but that was 2 weeks after they closed the OB then. So I know that was before then, but we asked him for these services, and we do have the numbers. When Johnson County is the leading county in our state for minors that are pregnant, we have issues when minors are pregnant in Johnson County, and we don't even have a hospital there or here. I don't think minors drive themselves usually, not as young as they are. So that is a problem. So that's why it was mentioned, is because in our meetings, we asked him for that, and he said, no, I would not bring that back. And just so you know, another department that's been closed is the records department. There has been people that's trying to get their records after having an actual test down here, but then they're told they have to go to Johnson City to get their results, and some are having to take extra time off just to get it. So there has been more closed, and the dialogue, I agree, needs to be there. And I think I mentioned in our health and welfare, if you weren't present, that if this resolution gets passed, I believe that we need to take it not only to ballot, but not just as a, here you go. Now, here you go. Are you ready to sit down and talk? If it doesn't do anything, everybody goes, what do you want it to do? Then they don't have anything to worry about. But to me, it's kind of like when I say a bad relationship, and people can't get along. Here's what we want. Can we sit and talk now? We're all in agreement this is what we're going for. I don't want to just keep throwing those. We're trying to get them serious, guys. They've all lined up here on the front row. We said, please talk to us. Let's have some meetings. They've not been back, but more things close. So we've tried to get them to talk, but they don't. Sit with administrators. We've done all of these things. We even had a commissioner, one who's not here tonight, that sat on their board. And you know that when he spoke out on the meetings, they did not renew him on the board. So in the letter that you got welcoming a commissioner onto the board of Sycamore Shoals or to Ballot Health, that's not new. ACUF did that for a long time and served this county. So just know that's not something new. The next day he was at the COPA meeting that's what happened. Go ahead.
Okay, Donnie Cable, you have the floor.
The lady sent me her story. She wanted me to read it. It was about her mother. She took her mother to the Johnson City Medical Center ER at 8 a.m. one morning. She was still in the ER at 2:45 in the next morning. And she was told they had plenty of beds, but they had no nurses to care for the patients. She stayed in the ER for 31 hours. Rolled in a room in the ER, pulled out of the room in the ER, left in the hallway. While she was in the ER, a bed next to her, the man coded and he died in the room with her. This is a very sad picture. She was on oxygen. She was a
COPD patient. They hooked oxygen up to her bed in the hallway. And she went to check the oxygen and there wasn't no oxygen in the bottle. She was laying there in the hallway with no oxygen. This is her story. And I've heard numerous stories. We heard them here. We've heard numerous stories. I'll not mention her name, but I'll tell her story.
Thank you, Mr. Cable. Is there any other discussion? Okay.
I got one.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Campbell.
I've heard both sides of what's going on. I know we definitely need a hospital in this area. As Kelly said, and I agree with her. I'm not persuaded by fear or anything else. But you gotta understand too, I'm gonna say the last month, we heard people from Sutherland County, we heard people from Washington County, we heard people from Johnson City, very huge Carter County. I took this, and I told Mr. Holder did not. I went into the first district, asked about this. They're scared they're gonna lose the hospital altogether. And that was their motion in certain place. Yeah, they said, we're opening up a bunch of emergency here. We need to be very careful. We don't have a hospital in this county. Talk about having, as Kelly said, major surgery. I've been under ballot down here. I've had open heart surgery, triple bypass. I was taken good care of. I'm taking up for it, I'm just telling you. I also had to go to Johnson City and had an aneurysm removed and kidney surgery. I'm taken care of there. So other people may have problems. I don't know. You know, I'm just telling you about me. But, you know, I'm just saying, you know, people are on the edge. They don't know which way to go. And I'm not taking, you know, what the people have to say.
Anybody else? Okay, then let's vote on the resolution.
Restate the resolution.
Well, the way it's written in your packet is it's a resolution expressing concerns with the level of healthcare services currently being provided in Carter County and the current oversight and regulation of the operations of Valley Health. And of course, what we're actually voting on, Mr. Campbell, is the full resolution that Attorney Harden read.
Campbell.
Frazier.
Aye.
Motion fails.
Cowards.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Just for a little excitement, I know nobody to change the frame of our thought. But at the first inning, the Rangers are ahead 3-0. And the reason why I say that, because we have a Carter Countyan playing for the Rangers, whether you're aware of it. And for our Harlem family and our Western neighborhood county. And it's done remarkable to be the ambassador for this county and for our city and our church. To abstain.
I mean, the screen says it passed, but with only 11 yeses, it did not, did it, sir?
No, it's failed. You need this 13 yes votes.
I'm sorry about the discrepancy, but we needed 13 and we do not have 13 to pass the resolution. We have 11. Okay.
Can I ask about the abstaining, how that comes about? Mark? What grounds can you abstain on?
Yeah, it's hard for me to even see what's up there, to be honest with you. So we had 2 abstentions. If those are abstentions for cause, they're not counted toward the total. But if they're just simply abstentions because they choose not to vote, without it being a conflict of interest reason, then they still don't reduce the total votes needed. So you would have to ask those individual commissioners what those abstentions were for, but unless it was for a direct conflict of interest, you still need the 13 vote. I'm not aware of a conflict of interest that would preclude them from voting the two that abstain.
Mr.
I don't care to answer. I'm still currently involved with Carter County EMS. That's why I'm staying.
Who asked that question about the abstentions? Ms. Collins,
It's not changed.
are you?
I just wonder, you know, let's just keep everybody.
Okay.
Yes or no.
All right. Attorney Harden, that doesn't change anything based on the new information we have from the auditor, or does it?
No, it would take both of them anyway. But I don't view that as a direct conflict of interest. He's not a current employee of Carter County EMS. So you can choose to abstain for any reason you want to. I don't consider that a for cause abstention. I don't know about Mr. Kim, but I'm not aware of a reason that would make it a conflict for him to vote.
Surely. The reason I abstained, I've got family that works for Ballard. I don't want to do anything that might jeopardize their positions at Ballard.
All right, the motion has failed, and at this time, I'm gonna ask pretty specifically for other committee reports, because, recently I was somewhat criticized that reports weren't given at this meeting. So if you're chair of a committee and you choose not to give a report right now, then you are not communicating with this commission about everything that's going on in your group. So, do we have a report from the agriculture committee?
We've got a meeting 14th. I mean.
Don't do that again, Liam.
I'm gonna let the room clear. I'm sorry, I can't hear this. Okay, will you please restate the date of your meeting, Mr. Holder?
November 14th.
November the 14th?
At 4 p.m.
At 4 p.m. at the
Mayor's conference room.
mayor's conference room. Thank you, sir. Okay. Education committee, you have minutes in your packet. Health and welfare, of course, is already gone. Landfill, if anybody wants to update any of these.
I can give you a quick update on landfill right now.
Okay, yes, sir.
Director of Planning and Zoning and solid waste and recycling. Right now, we're working on our NOVs as far as our pilots, TDEC. We're accomplishing that mission. Working on doing our post-closure, which I'm working with Ms. Watson quite extensively with, myself and a new chairman, Mr. Berger. Communicating with that. Recycling, we had household hazardous waste. Saturday, had about 106 people come through. Very, very, very good turnout. Our recycling program's working well. I'm working with Tennessee Eastman right now on our contract as far as recycling. Working on cleaning up the old recycling building that was not finished. So we've got a few more days on this to get it knocked out. And working extensively with the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Fraley, thank you very much. Highway Department, thank you for that. That's that report.
Thank you for doing that on the spot. Ms. Shannon, I'm looking at you since I had to look at Mr. Chris over there. Do you have anything you want to add on the animal shelter?
Our minutes should be in your packet,
Okay,
and our meetings are the second Tuesday of every month. You all are welcome to come.
Okay, thank you very much. Sheriff, other than the award presentation, we haven't heard back from you. Do you have anything to add this evening? Okay, thank you, sir. Highway, those are bylaws.
Can I say something about highway? He's not here. There is a public hearing about Judge Don Lewis Boulevard. Presented that night.
Okay. All right, public hearing at the next highway committee meeting. Okay. All right, thank you very much for that update. I'm currently serving on the Chamber of Commerce and don't really have anything new to report there. Beer Board, Records Committee, Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec was asked to find a new location for the dog park, since nothing's gonna be going on at Gap Creek Park. So we approached the Eric Anderson, the folks that manage the Eric Anderson Park for the Roan Mountain Recreation Foundation, with putting it at the disc golf course. They said that was untenable because there's no water over there, and you have to have water for the dog park. In March, when the spring rolls around, they said that they would start looking at a location at the actual main park to potentially put it over there. But it wasn't something that they really wanted to discuss it internally and see if it was something that they should do. Parks and Rec meets tomorrow at 6 in the Mayor's Conference.
Thank you.
And JECDB meets on Thursday at 6 in the Mayor's Conference.
All right, any other committee that I didn't call by name? Any other committee want to report on anything? Okay, attorney, it's your turn.
I'll just stand on my written report in minutes every month. If anybody has a question, just ask and I'll be happy to answer.
Does anyone have one now? Okay, then it's time for commissioner comments.
I just want to say thank you for those that did vote in support of that. And just know, I mean, me personally, and for the people that I stand for, I'm still going to go and do, whether I have the resolution or paper or not, I can still go and use my voice. So if anybody would like to know who you need to contact, just let me know and I'll let them know. And I understand with some that have mentioned families and all that, we get it. But that's the sad part that we're in, that we're trapped in.
I'd just like to say thanks to everybody that voted for this, because I feel like it was something that our residents did want. And I don't intend to sit down with this. And I'd really like to extend a hand to our mayor and ask her to help us with this, because we really have an issue in this county. In our hospital, we do need some things fixed, and I'd like to ask her to help us.
Mr. Cable, you're next, and then Mr. Frazier.
I would just like to thank the Carter County Highway Department. They just finished 6.7 miles of paving on Odie Road. And it's a great asset to the community there. And I just like to thank them and the state for doing that. It's been centerlined and sidelined. It's easier to drive on at night, so many of our elderly people have to have that. So we appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. And Barry Frazier.
I just wanted to say one thing regarding Ballot Health and the Sycamore Shoals Hospital. Go back and take a look at history of what happened with Tacoma and Laughlin over in Greene County. Ballot Health has a pattern that they use whenever they're closing hospitals. Regardless of what we do here tonight or what would be done in the future, they're already on step 2. There's only 2 steps to go. So Ballot sits on almost every single nonprofit and board in Northeast Tennessee in one way or another. It's not the fact that they will put pressure on you, you know the pressure is there. So regardless of which direction we go, Ballard's gonna do what Ballard's gonna do, and nobody can do anything about it until the state does away with their monopoly in the area. They can continue to operate, they can continue to set up and run reporting and whatnot as they see fit. And it doesn't really go checked. As that guy was pointing out, as they go through and they have to turn in their nonprofit paperwork, they can put and say whatever it is they want in those numbers, because if you've got enough accountants, you can make the numbers say what you want them to say. And if they're spending $8 million on advertising, it's telling you something. They've got a PR problem and they're trying to correct it.
Jerry Prophet.
He just checking the weather. He just found that button out, I'm telling you, he just found it.
I'll just make one comment that my vote tonight for the resolution was not con ballot as much as it was pro citizen. I was here to represent the people, and this is what they want, based on those that I've had a chance to talk to. It's 100% what they want. So, does anybody else, last call? Are you sure, Jerry?
Jerry?
Would you like to make another motion on
I just left the motion to get out of here.
that? Okay. All in favor, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Hey, Nick. Hey, Nick. I see Nick.